Hello! Happy Wednesday, everyone. My name is Justin Nimergood. I am your host of the Real Estate Rockstars. This week, we are joined by a fabulous guest, someone that I personally know that has, I would say, even been a mentor in some ways to me, Miss Debbie McClain. Now, before we welcome Debbie on the show, I just wanted to share a little bit about her because her background is quite impressive. She's a proud native Texan and has built a vast network across multiple real estate markets in Texas, strengthened by her extensive career and dedication to the industry. With years of experience, almost 20 years of experience in real estate, she assists residential buyers, sellers, investors in guiding them toward each of their ideal properties and to help them meet their unique needs. Her previous role as a sales manager for a concrete construction company in Denver, Colorado, provided turnkey services to both custom and high-volume home builders as well as commercial contractors. This diverse experience has enriched our understanding of every facet of the industry. Debbie is considered an industry leader and mentor. She is committed to the excellence that is reflected in her achievements as a multi-million, mega million, and platinum producer. Debbie's life goes well beyond real estate. Outside of work, she enjoys a fulfilling life with her husband, diving into hobbies, which include motorcycling, attending car races and rodeos, and discovering unique dining and music venues, especially here in the DFW Metroplex. Deeply rooted in West Texas, Debbie proudly traces her family back 6 generations and credits her father for instilling a strong work ethic and compassion for others. It's without further ado, I'd like to welcome Miss Debbie McClain to the show. Debbie, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Justin. Glad to be here. I appreciate the invitation. It's exciting.
Absolutely. It's wonderful to have you on here on episode 11. I can't even believe it. This was just a figment of a thought of imagination, if you will, at the end of last year. And now has really kind of gotten some steam behind it. Having great guests like yourself on. Debbie, if you wouldn't mind, I know I just introduced you, but in your own words, tell our listeners out there a little bit about Debbie. Who are you, and just how they can get to know you, if you will.
Okay, well, as you said, I've been in real estate almost 20 years. Prior to real estate, I've had a couple of other careers. One of the most exciting was when I worked in Denver, Colorado for a concrete construction company. When I left that business, I came back to Texas not knowing what I wanted to do. And part of that was in a home buying process, I didn't know anything about home buying. I had a really bad experience with a bad realtor. And I thought, this is not the way to do business. Maybe this is my next career path. So I jumped in with both feet, not knowing anything about it, got my license, had a really good mentor with my first broker, and jumped in. And I've been in it almost 20 years in all aspects. As a solo agent, I've never worked on a team, so to speak. Now, I've worked in team environments, but I've always been a solo agent. And now I have moved across Texas and Houston and Dallas, Fort Worth, and West Texas, where I began my career. And most of my business is out there, but it's lucrative. It's a great business. I've had opportunities to switch careers, and there's nothing like real estate.
No,
I have been able to step into the roles of mentorship, but we can talk about that. But basically, that's where I'm at. And the reason I got into it is I had a bad experience, and I wanted to find out there was a different way to do it, and there is.
absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And as someone that has also had a background in other industries prior to real estate, now having been in real estate almost 15 years myself, I have to say it is the best industry on the planet. Given you have to have some pretty thick skin, right? Like anything in sales, you have to
You
have
do.
thick. You have to
Yes,
be prepared for the ups and downs, but that's like any market, right? Any industry. So I totally agree with you, though, Debbie. I think there's nothing like it out there. So to that end, I'm just curious. What do you see? I mean, as we look at the real estate industry as a whole right now, right? There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in the economy. You look at the tariffs that are being instilled at our executive leadership level. Just a lot of turmoil, if you will, and a lot of speculation around real estate. What do you see personally as the biggest challenge facing the real estate industry today?
Well, we have the biggest challenge is there are more and more people who want to jump into the real estate game, whether they want to be a realtor, an investor, providing services for agents, uh, things like that. And there's a lot of people who think that there's a shortcut to it. There's a lot of shiny objects out there that especially realtors are being hit at daily. And I admit I'm the world's worst at the shiny object syndrome, thinking, oh, this is great, and trying to remain focused. The best thing I can say is when I jumped in this, I trained myself. I went to every event, every function, every class, every anything I could do to train myself. I didn't leave it on anybody else. If you're going to remain in this industry, you need to stay on top of your game by staying educated. Don't let it fall into somebody else's lap. Now, there are the new AI tools, the new virtual assistants. I believe in all of them. I think they're all amazing. And we do have to acclimate to that. We do have to learn the new ways of doing things. It's not like it was 15 years ago, like you said, 19 years ago when we did this. I mean, I was working in an office where they came and knocked on the door. They called your sign. It's different now, but there's no other industry like it. No matter where you want to go in this industry, if you want to be an investor, buyer, seller, renter, there's a place for you. You just have to decide this is what you want to do.
Mhm.
And people are always going to need homes. It doesn't really matter what the market says it is. We need homes. So we just have to stick with it and find a way to get it done.
That's right, Debbie. And it's funny, especially those that are in the land piece of our business, right, that focus on land sales. It's like they're only making, they're not making any more of it, right? So there's
Right.
no more land. There's, obviously only so much more inventory that'll ever be able to come on the market based on how much land is available to construct on. But I couldn't agree with you more. Now, there's lots of, I would say, personal challenges, at least that I've come across, and I think there's also lots of rewards. So let's start out with the rewards. What do you really see as the most rewarding part of being in real estate, being an agent?
The first off, the fact is, I mean, this is my business. This isn't my job. It's my business. I own the business. I can run it however I choose to run it. If I want to make a schedule, make my, whatever my schedule is, I make it. That's the beauty behind it. With that being said, it's just like being a business owner. You probably put in more hours than you do if you had a job you go to. But I do that. And then if you this is a relationship business, and the relationships you build with your clients, if you're doing it the right way, overall, that's important. And so being able to see the happiness on your client's face, whether it's a property they need to get rid of because, for whatever reason, or having to move for a job or a family situation, or it's their first time buy. When it's all over and it's said and done, that's the great reward for it. And I've always been that realtor that jumped in where I did not, the price point wasn't key. It was me helping my client accomplish what they needed and looking at me as a professional, looking at me as the trusted professional. It's through all the headaches at the end of the game, that's what it is. So those two things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. So let's flip the coin for a second. What's the most challenging part of being in real estate, being a real estate agent, if you will?
The most challenging point is, I mean, you have to look at it like it's a funnel. There's a lot of pieces that go into this. You start at the top, you're the agent, you meet with your client, and they decide what they want to do. Say they're buying a home. And then you've got to make sure you've got the lender involved, and you've got the inspectors involved, and you've got the other realtor involved, and you've got it all goes into a funnel. The most challenging is keeping everybody on the same page and communicating. And sometimes you run across other parties that aren't communicative, and it throws things out of sync. That's part of it. You're going to have challenges. I mean, where there's going to be loan issues, there's going to be inspection issues, there's going to be timeline issues. You have to be able to um, face that, find a way to get around it. That's the only thing. And if you focus on you've got to have a lot of business going at the same time. You have to look for the next step. What's the next step? We have an objection. We have a block right now. Let's get around this. We have to be the one that um, is the problem solver, And you can't just walk away and give up. You have to really have, you know, strength that you got to make sure you're in it for your client. You got to put your feelings aside. You got to take care of them.
In it to win it. That's right. Absolutely. Now, I like asking, especially people that have been in the industry a while. I'm sure you've built certain habits over the years, right? Quality habits, for that matter, that have been instrumental to your success. So, if you wouldn't mind, and you don't have to go through every little single detail, but I would love to hear, and I'm sure our listeners would love to hear, what does a day in the life of Debbie look like? What does a typical Wednesday for you look like?
Well, it always it's changed through the years. I mean, the first 17 years of my real estate career, I was single. I had myself, my business to worry about, and my client. Yeah. Now I have a family. Now I'm married. I have a family. I have 5 fur babies that I have to take care of, work around their schedule, and learn when to stop. But the part of it is I have learned, and I've learned this from watching other successful people. You have to allow time for yourself. So my morning is important to me. I have to make sure I've got my morning started off the way I need it to start off, whether it's coffee, a walk, or spending time with my family, and then set my meetings. I really try to focus on attending my meetings with my peers, with my associates. If we have trainings, I try to focus on 2 or 3 trainings a week. So typically a Wednesday, I have my morning. I start off pretty early. I get up pretty early, 5:30 or 6, but then I have a coffee, usually with a friend or an associate, and then I go on to a meeting. Typically, there's always a meeting at lunch with other industry leaders. My day does not really get busy with my clients until around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now,
Oh,
times have changed. Clients work from home now and are more flexible. When I first began this, I didn't begin my business until late afternoon, 4 or 5 o'clock into the evening, because people had a job to go to, and it was after work. Now with people working from home, it's a little more flexible, but typically my day with my client doesn't start until the afternoon. So
right.
there it goes. And I
There you go.
have to learn to cut it off at a certain time, or I've been known to send emails out at midnight and had the client, before, it was better than a text, but I've learned, you have to allow yourself, don't get to the point to where you don't have any time for yourself. Sometimes you need that, but you have to learn to take care of yourself in this industry to be able to be helpful to
No,
somebody else.
no one else will, because to your first point, it is
Yeah,
our business, right? So
right,
you can
right.
get as down the rabbit hole with it as never happened. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm the worst. When I was a mentor before, but I mean, at a previous brokerage where I met you, and I had a lot of agents to take care of, and their calls to me were important. However, I had to decide, is this something I need to disturb what I had going on at that moment to take care of, or is this something I can take care of at a later time? So it's learning to juggle that, prioritize that. So you have to learn to prioritize what's an emergency, what's not,
That's
and
absolutely.
communicate. Say, I may not be able to get back to you, but at this time, and then do that. So
That's right. That's right. Amen to that. Okay, so we're going to move on to our last segment of the discussion here today, Debbie. And it's going to be fun. I'm going to throw a couple Zinger type questions at you. Just answer them the best that you can. They're not meant, they're meant to be questions that make you think. They're sort of very, very cerebral type questions. So here we go. So let's say, for example, it's your 80th birthday. Who is there around with you? What's going on? Just if you could paint the picture for us, what's going on your 80th birthday?
it's definitely going to be my 6th generation family. That's pretty much fills the room. My husband, I probably have a handful of close friends. I don't. I've learned. as I get older, I'm more focused on the family that I am, and then a few friends that I feel like family. And most likely, we're at some place where there's actually music and dancing because that's got to be part of my life. Always, always has been, always will be. So, and it's just, I've always thought that I don't, if I get together with my family and friends, it's going to be something like that involved.
That's great.
So,
That's great.
yeah.
Family is so important. And it doesn't matter who I ask this question to, it almost always is the same or similar answer from people. You know, it's family, it's friends, it's love, you name it. Okay. All right. So next question is, let's say it's your last day on Earth. You can preserve three items with you. You can put them in this time capsule and they'll preserve forever. What are those items and why?
Okay. I will probably have, it would be one family photo I have of my entire family all together. I mean, we don't have many of them all together. That would be that. It would be my marriage certificate because I didn't get married till later on in life, and that was a big key factor. And probably anything that has to do with all of my pets. I'm a big ASP. My pets are my life. So something to name all of them, whether it's their collar, their anything like that, something like that. Those are the things. Those are the three things that are important to me: my family, my husband, and my kids, my animals.
Fur babies. Yeah.
Yeah.
So cute. So cute. My wife and I are big fur baby fans as well. In
Oh
fact,
yeah.
we board quite a few dogs as a side hustle of ours. So we're right there with you, Debbie. We love our fur babies.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Exactly.
okay. All right. So final fun question here is, and again, just put it in your own words. What is your definition of what a real estate?
What is what?
What a real estate rock star is?
What are real estate rock stars?
Yes.
They real estate rock stars, as far as I'm concerned, are uh, they're typically real estate agents that have a lot of passion for the industry. They take it seriously. They don't just go to school and get their license and walk away and that's what it is and have other people do everything for them. They take into consideration each client's personal, what they need and want is personal. You need to put yourselves in their shoe and you need to build a relationship with them. You have to continue your growth and your education no matter what step you go, whether you're like this or not. You put your I put my heart and soul into my business. I can't imagine doing anything else. I it, I've said before, I live and breathe real estate. I do have to draw the line sometime there, but that typically, if you're going to be a rock star real estate, you put everything you have into it and believe in it, and so that others believe in you as well.
Mhm. Well said. Well said. I think our listeners out there are going to really subscribe with that approach out here. Debbie, it's been such a blessing, I'll call it, having you here on today. Where can people find and connect with you further from the show here?
They actually, my website is talkwithdebbie.com. Pretty easy. That's my webpage. Or you can email me there, or you can email me at Debbie Niece McClain at gmail.com. Two of the easiest ways to do it.
I love that. Talk with Debbie. Talk with
Mhm.
Debbie. And she'll
Talk
get
with
you
Debbie.
straight.
Yes,
She'll
exactly.
Debbie, thank you so much for coming on. Folks, another wonderful episode here on Real Estate Rockstars. Again, my name is Justin Nimergood, your host. We look forward to seeing you again next week with another wonderful rockstar guest. Thanks. Have a good day, everybody.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks.